I wanted to launch a software company. I knew that I wanted to work in AI. I'd become obsessed with it. I'd become an advocate for AI-backed humans. I was looking at where could I move the needle the most for small business. I believe wholeheartedly in small business. They are the backbone of our society. There where like real change comes. And I want to live in a society where people are not, we're like stepping out of this hustle culture and people have an opportunity to do something, offer some kind of product or service that lights them up, that they enjoy doing, and do it in a reasonable amount of hours each week so they can actually take care of their mental health, their physical health.
This is the Entrepreneurs United podcast with your hosts, John St. Pierre and Rich Hoffman.
Heidi DeCoux, who is the founder of Cashflowy. So welcome, Heidi.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, happy to have you. Talk to us about what are you up to these days and what excites you about it?
Yeah, so my latest adventure, I'm a serial entrepreneur. My latest adventure is a fintech AI startup. We are on a mission to revolutionize how bookkeeping, accounting, and taxes is done for solopreneurs. So small businesses, a lot of it, think like coaches, consultants, freelancers, influencers, creators, people with maybe a program, mastermind, where we don't just do a better job of your bookkeeping, accounting, and taxes utilizing AI. So you do not need a human bookkeeper and you're on top of all of you're always tax ready. But more importantly, you understand your numbers. And as a result, you make more money and you keep more money. So ultimately, what our goal is not just to make sure that you're tax ready, it's to help you make more money and keep more money. So there's something that, depending on the level of business you're in, you may or may not have heard of. It's called KPIs, key performance indicators. These are the real numbers that you really need to know in your business. Yes, you need a balance sheet and stuff to do your taxes with, but what really matters is your KPIs. And they tell you what's happening in your business. So we built into our software KPI tracker that is the main 4 categories of KPIs that every small business needs to know and understand. And the majority of small businesses have no idea. And then there's an AI financial coach that analyzes them for you and says, hey, based on your KPIs, this is the thing that you should be focused on right now. Maybe it's retention, maybe it's lead generation, maybe like whatever it is. So that instead of you running around like a chicken with your head cut off, throwing a lot of spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks, you're overworking yourself and not getting the results. So what we want to do is the opposite. We want you to focus in on the things that are actually moving the needle in your business, the things that are generating net bottom line take home profit for you, and let go of the rest. This allows you to work less and earn more. So I'm a big advocate of AI backed humans. We now live in a world where you can automate and simplify so many different things in your business so that your time, if you really understand your numbers and know what you should be focused on, your time can be laser focused on those few things that are really moving the needle and making the money in your business. And you can automate everything else. And one of the reasons that we're focusing on solopreneurs and small businesses in general, but solopreneurs is our primary market, because we live in a time where you can create a high income lifestyle business easier than ever in history. You now have an opportunity to work 2, 3 days a week and make multi 6 figures, even multi 7 figures. In fact, I assert that somewhere on our planet right now, someone is working on a 1-person business that will be our first $1 billion business. It's just a matter of time because we're now living in a world where that's possible. And so what I'm doing is creating an opportunity for these small businesses to get AI backed, at least when it comes to their bookkeeping, accounting, taxes, and then really understand their numbers so that they know what they're focused on to help them achieve that.
Talk to me about the 4 KPIs everybody should know. What are they?
Yeah. So you need to understand. So first off, there's revenue KPIs. And so you need to understand what products and services that you offer make you the most amount of net income. So you may have products and services that bring in high volume of income, but when you look at how much it takes for you to deliver the service in terms of money, time, bandwidth, they may not be your most profitable products and services. So getting really clear on what's actually making you the money. And then getting really clear on the expenses around your products and services and around just your business and overhead in general. So those are the two main categories of KPIs. And then there's like sub within there. And it does depend a bit on your niche. So our KPI dashboard is going to be adjusted and customized based on the type of business you're in and the type of niche that you're in, so that you're getting smart about the numbers that you need to really know and understand.
So I've got revenue and expenses. Were there two others in the four?
Yeah, it's going to depend a little bit on like their specific business and what
So
they're
your
in.
prototype business that you work with,
Yeah, so
what
like
is that
we
business? And then what would the other two KPIs be?
yeah, so we work with a lot of coaches, consultants, therapists, freelancers, influencers, that, kind of thing, or offering some kind of a program, some kind of a service or program, generally service based.
Okay.
And so you're going to be looking at those, what's profitable for products and services, your overhead, and like how much net profit you're taking home and like where that really comes from, how much time and energy you're putting into the delivery of those services. So what are the different needs that your business has in order to deliver those particular services? And then on the expense side. So where is that like net bottom line profit coming from? And what are the different dials that you need to turn in order to have that net profit?
Heidi, I'm curious, why did you land on Cashflowy.ai and not a social media AI tool or some engineering tool or some other coding tool? Why financials? Why small business bookkeeping? How did that come to be for you?
So this is actually my fifth business. I sold technically four of my previous companies. And the three, yeah, anyway, so sold three legitimate exits of my previous companies, one very small exit. And I worked with solopreneurs that entire time. And so service solopreneurs in different capacities. And what I saw over and over again was nobody had their arms around their numbers. So both their bookkeeping and books were just a mess. They were really stressed out during tax time. They were either using Google Sheets or they were using a big clunky software like, say, a QuickBooks, a FreshBooks, which is made for a much bigger business. And so then often they would have to hire a human bookkeeper, like a certified books bookkeeper, certified FreshBooks bookkeeper, to actually run it for them, which for a small business, that's a huge expense. You're paying for this expensive software. Then you're paying $200, $300, $400 a month for this human bookkeeper. And then they still didn't know their numbers. They would email their bookkeeper a question and maybe hear back 3 days later, and it would usually be a follow-up question. And they had no idea what their real numbers, like their KPIs were. They had no idea what products and services were actually making money in their business. They didn't really understand like their expenses, like what percentage of income they were spending on marketing versus delivery versus like all of those things. And I knew that I wanted to launch a software company. I knew that I wanted to work in AI. I'd become obsessed with it. I'd become an advocate for AI-backed humans. I was looking at where could I move the needle the most for small business. I believe wholeheartedly in small business. They are the backbone of our society. There where like real change comes. And I want to live in a society where we're like stepping out of this hustle culture and people have an opportunity to do something, offer some kind of product or service that lights them up, that they enjoy doing, and do it in a reasonable amount of hours each week so they can actually take care of their mental health, their physical health. Maybe they want to have a family, whatever it is, they can travel. And so I wanted to get in the ring and be part of the solution. And I saw the gap in the market, and that the bookkeeping, accounting, taxes, and then the KPI and the AI financial coach, which we can now make a really smart AI financial coach, right? And so instead of you having to pay for an expensive financial coach, an expensive bookkeeper, an expensive software, and still maybe not know what's going on in your business, you can now just have an inexpensive software with AI, smart AI built into it that tells you everything you need to know in real time, all the time.
So Heidi, I'm just curious from an entrepreneurial perspective, what were the three big exits you had? What did those companies do? And what industry were they? Were they AI?
No, yeah, right. Totally different. They were all in the online marketing space. So I switched gears as I came from the online marketing space and grew up. I started, the first one was an agency. So this was like way back in the day before I'll age myself now, before we had Wix and Squarespace and everybody had to have WordPress sites. So I was an early adopter in hiring overseas talent. And so we were a template WordPress design shop essentially, and churned out like 1,000 websites a year. So that was the first one. And then, yeah, they were all in the online marketing space after that.
Okay, got it. I want to come back to this idea that nobody has their hands around their numbers. If we just talk about that conceptually for a minute, Rich and I coach entrepreneurs, and I've been there. I have been the entrepreneur who doesn't have their hands around their numbers. And by the way, I got an accounting degree. And part of that, in my belief, is because if you're not selling any widgets, you don't really have any revenue to count anyway. So let's focus on sales and marketing first. And when you get the sales and marketing widgets, it's, you know what, I got to produce this stuff. If I don't produce it, I'm going to lose the customer. So you put all your energy into operations, and then you let accounting figure itself out. And what ends up happening is that cycle repeats over and over and over and over again. Your business grows, and you have no idea what's really going on the backside. Why, in your belief, do entrepreneurs not get this concept? Because I've been there, so I've been that person. That you need to get your hands around these numbers. You need to know what your KPIs are. You need to have a really good sense of what is going on, not just look at the P&L and think what's going on. Where does that come from? And what can we do to really fix that as a whole?
Yeah, I think it's two things. Number one, they're really just caught in the day-to-day. And they're on the hamster wheel of just solving today's problems, servicing today's clients, there's that. And then also what we've found is people freeze up when you start talking about numbers. Like really smart person who, is running a good business, it's like they drop 10 IQ points as soon as you put them in front of their numbers. And they just I don't understand these numbers. I don't know what to do here. This is overwhelming. And so they just shut down, and it's easier to shut down and look away, or so they think that's the easier path. It's actually the harder path that's going to keep you in overwork mode. But we see that over and over again, which is why we built this like Apple-esque easy dashboard, because we kept hearing over and over again, people would set up, say, a QuickBooks account or FreshBooks or Xero or whatever. And they're like, I started a free trial. I logged in, I broke out in hives, and I canceled my free trial because it just was too complicated, right? There's just too many moving parts. There's too many things. There's using accounting terms on different buttons that they don't know. And so we have just a really simplified dashboard, all in layman's terms, that tells them just what they need to know.
Yeah, as you were saying that, there's intimidation a little bit.
Yeah.
I see the numbers. I'm looking at the bottom line. I'm looking at the revenue, but I don't really quite understand how I should be driving this and the terminologies and different things. I think sometimes there's the fear. I don't want to know. I don't want to know what my numbers are. I'm just going to keep selling it. We'll figure itself out.
Yeah.
There's different things like that. And then to your point, one thing that I think was highlighted to me when you were talking is a lot of small businesses have bookkeepers. And the role of a bookkeeper versus the role of maybe a controller versus the role of a CFO, if you went to that level, are different. And most small businesses satisfy themselves with a bookkeeper. And what the bookkeeper is going to do is make sure that your checkbook balances and that the statement reconciles to your QuickBooks or whatever it may be. They don't provide KPIs. They don't provide other analyses of your monthly close financials and opportunities. And maybe you get a lower interest rate at this bank if you go over here. And why are you paying off all these credit cards? So I think what happens is a lot of these small businesses lack controllership, and they lack that fractional CFO strategic mind who's looking at the bookkeeper's financials and analyzing. Because the bookkeepers are getting paid $200 to $500 a month to keep the books. That's what they're being paid to do. So what I'm understanding what Cashflowy does is adds that, yeah, we're going to automate some of this bookkeeping stuff. We're also going to provide you a little bit of a fractional controller and fractional CFO to come along. Is that a good way to put it?
Basically, yeah, like an AI fractional CFO. So we're calling it a financial coach. Really, that's what it is. It's analyzing all their numbers and saying, hey, and it's getting to know their business. So you're feeding it information about your business. And then as we grow, like we're still in beta right now, but once we're big and have critical volume, we're going to be a data machine. We're going to know who the highest paid coaches are, the highest paid influencers, the highest paid therapists, et cetera. And we're going to know like what percentage of their revenue are they spending on marketing? Are they spending on software? How many different products and services do they offer? And so you're going to have all this data that says, hey, you're in this type of business. These are the best practices of the highest paid people in your industry. So good to it's confidential, obviously, but it's just being aggregated. And so the robots just can say, oh, the highest paid in this niche are doing these things, and this is what their numbers look like, and this is what this.
Yeah, you know what's interesting is before you mentioned that point, I was going to challenge you on something.
Sure.
And I think you brought up a real good rebuttal to the challenge I didn't even give you yet, which is I do have a controller in our companies. I do have CFOs or fractional CFOs, and actually have a firm that does fractional CFOs for companies. And I guess my thought is, even though I have all of those, I have been training my own project, if you will, within ChatGPT on our monthly financials to help me put together some analysis reports and, hey, what are some opportunities here? Help me prepare a bank presentation, all those kinds of things. What is the difference between a small business taking their bookkeeper's financials and putting that into a trained ChatGPT project that confidential and whatever, and say, hey, help me analyze this, versus what Cashflowy.ai is going to do?
Yeah, so you can do that. And I recommend if you're not using Cashflow, you should do that. Like you are doing a great strategy. The difference is we've trained our AI coach. And so a lot of times people don't know how to prompt the AI correctly, and they don't know what they should be looking at. So we have this dashboard in there that you're customizing to you, and it's asking you the questions that we need so that you're not having to prompt it. You're not having to think of what to feed it. We're pulling it from you, all of the things that it needs to be fed so that it can actually create a nice dashboard that works for you and your business. And then the AI financial coach is trained to continue to learn more about you. And so we're pulling in data from all your banks and your transactions and your invoices and all of that. And then we're prompting you to give us more information about your business, about your products and services, about your target market, about all of that things. And then it's taking all of that data and then feeding to you really good, smart advice for you to consider for your business so that you can actually make more money while working fewer hours. That's our number one goal for you. We want to help you reduce your workload and take more money home. Because who cares if you have multi-millions of revenue and then you are taking home like $2,000 a month in net pay, or some months zero net pay, right? Like you don't want that. In fact, that's actually the worst, because that means you usually have a lot of headaches and no money at the end of the day. It's like literally.
You're going to make me cry because I've been there. So please stop.
Yeah, we've all been there, right? Like you want high profit margin. You want the least amount of work and headaches and the highest amount of take home pay. So we want to help you get there.
Have you leveraged your marketing expertise in the AI that is in Cashflowy to make marketing recommendations?
So not yet, but we have that on the roadmap. So we're going to be building something called Cashflower Society. so all of our Cashflow users will get free access to the Cashflower Society. So when your financial coach says something to you like, hey, your biggest problem right now is retention, you need to work on that, you can go into Cashflower Society and get guides. Hey, here's a coach's guide or a whatever business guide for increasing your retention. Here's templates, scripts you can use. We'll have guest experts in the Cashflow Society and they'll create resources for it. So we do want to build a whole society of resources available to our users.
You said that's on the roadmap. What are the next couple of things that are on the roadmap that people can look forward to from Cashflowy?
Yeah, so we're going to be putting a lot of fine tuning into the KPI dashboard that we're calling it the AI financial coach. We don't use the term KPI in it because, again, most people would log in and they don't know what a KPI is, so they would never click on that button because they're like, I don't need that. I don't even know what that is. So it's called the AI financial coach. And then we just are rolling out right now, that's going to need more fine tuning, a cash flow tracker. So it's going, because the amount of money in your bank account right now is irrelevant. You've already spent some of that. You've got new money coming in. So this is a cash flow tracker that tells you how much money you actually have. And there's a calculator there that tells you how much money you can afford to pay yourself. Because the number one thing that we've been hearing from our beta founding members is, I don't know how much I can pay myself. I have no idea how much I can pay myself. And so there's a cash flow tracker with that calculator that you can enter, like it pulls in data and then you can enter a few things if it's missing. And then it says, this is exactly how much you can afford to pay yourself right now.
Where did you get the concept in the phrase of AI-backed humans?
I don't know if I read it or if I'm not actually sure.
Okay.
But,
Fill that out for me. What I heard, you use the term a couple of times, and I haven't
Yeah.
ever heard it, and I love the
Really?
term.
Okay.
And the couple of times you used it, you backfilled with bookkeeping, accounting, taxes, and then the second time you added on KPI and AI financial coach. Can you fill out more of a breadth of when you
Yeah.
say AI-backed humans, what all does that encompass?
Everything. I can't wait for the day that we all have robots in our homes doing all of our laundry, all of our dishes, cooking if we don't enjoy cooking, scrubbing toilets, making beds. And then just on day to day, I'm a huge LLM user. Perplexity and ChatGPT are my main go-tos, and they're the ones especially on my phone on the go that I'm using. But like today, I was stacked with meetings all day and I had a friend flying in tonight. And so I wanted to have a nice dinner, but I had limited time. So it literally laid out and it was like, do prep work from this time to this time between your meetings, this specific prep work and it helped me figure out the recipes, the grocery list. You can just take a picture of everything in your cupboard and your fridge and everything and worked out something easy that I only needed to fill in a few ingredients with. And then it laid out, this morning you can do 15 minutes of this prep from this to this. And then between these meetings, do these things. And then at this time, do these things. And it just had my day all laid out. That's the AI backed human, right? Where you're just being fed what you need to be fed in order to run a really successful life without having to, I don't want to use my human brain power on that when I had important sprint meeting with our dev team today about what the next sprint focus is going to be on. I had a team with all of our customer service agents, our accountants, and they do one-on-one sessions with our users. And so getting all of that feedback coming in from our users and what's important to them and what we should be focused on and on our roadmap, et cetera. These are the things that I need to be using my brain for, not figuring out what time I should marinate steak.
What is your ultimate vision for Cashflowy in terms of the picture of success that you're driving this business to?
We have tens of thousands of happy users that are making more money and keeping more money because they know and understand their numbers. They know and understand what's going on in their business. They no longer hyperventilate when they're looking at their bookkeeping or their P&L or their bank statements. They actually feel really smart. We have tens of thousands of users that are telling me, you know what? You make me feel smart, Heidi. Cashflowy makes me feel smart. I know what's going on because of Cashflowy. Then I know we won the day.
Hey, personal development question. So you seem to be a power user of AI. I've never used Perplexity. I'm going to say never. I've used Perplexity, but I never used Perplexity. I've never taken a picture of my cupboard and said, help me for dinner tonight. So I got to try that at some point. But what would be a few really cool other ways that you use AI, Perplexity, or other tools that are out there to be a more efficient executive? What would be a few tools off the top of your head? You're like, oh, I use this for
Yeah.
this. I do this for this. Like, help me so I can go try some things today. What would the
I do think everyone should be on Perplexity because it's really good at a couple of different things that the other LLMs are not going to give you as good of results. Number one, if you're doing deep research that you need, you need statistics or you need data that's actually accurate, it's going to be far more accurate. ChatGPT is great at brainstorming and it's great at writing copy and fluffier, and recipes. And ChatGPT is like fluffy and it's going to make you feel good about yourself and cheerlead you all day. So that's just like your BFF. Perplexity is your like workhorse that's going to do deep research. It's going to cite all of its research so you can check that that it's all factual. And if you need to find somebody, let's say that you're at a conference right now, I think, John, right? Let's say you met somebody, it's 2 weeks from now, you can't find them in your phone. You're like, that person, go to Perplexity. You only need a few basic pieces of information and it will hunt them down. I'm going to give you an example.
wow.
So a friend of mine is an angel investor and he's quite private. He has no socials other than LinkedIn. And it's just like a very basic LinkedIn. He's very private. He prides himself on not having an online footprint. And I'm like, watch this. And I sat on his couch and I put in his first name. I put in a city he's connected to but doesn't live in. So as San Francisco, and that he's an investor. I put in those 3 pieces of information. He came up and his picture was there and he was like, what? Yeah, it will hunt people down for you.
Wow. I'm going to go try that on myself real quick.
Yeah, it'll dig up more than what you're thinking too, probably.
I'd love to end the podcast on this note, but you gotta have a couple more because now Rich is leaning and I'm leaning in going, okay, what else do we need to try? And it's Perplexity. I didn't even know that did that kind of stuff. What else do you do to be a power user executive with AI?
Let's see. I do outsource a lot of my personal life because to be a good executive, you have to have the brain space all day and decision fatigue is real. And so if you're going to use your beautiful human brain to make a bunch of mundane decisions, that is going to cost you the important decisions that you need to actually be making in your business. And so I outsource to ChatGPT a lot, all of these mundane decisions so that I can be focused on the big things. So like my ChatGPT, for example, is organized by the folders. I don't actually know what all their terms are, but folders. So I've got personal, I've got a Cashflowy one, I have health, I've got all these different like folders, right? And then within there are different subfolders. So for example, in health, which I recommend everyone has. And ChatGPT is actually pretty good at this, but you do want to cross-check some of the data that it gives you with Perplexity. But so depending on what you're doing, but do a health one. So I've uploaded all of my health tests. And as I get new health tests, I'll always upload them. I have fed it lots of information about me. It knows my entire health history. And so it knows all the vitamins that I take. It knows when I take them. It knows the kind of diet that I have, why I have it. I fed it prompts on why I follow the health plan that I do, like which plan I subscribe to and who my favorite biohackers are. And so it knows all of that. And it knows like when I'm looking for information, I want it to find the philosophies of those particular doctors, those particular biohackers, and to look at things and give me advice from those lenses. And so you can train it on that. And I was like at the store the other night and one of my girlfriends was like, oh, we need to all be on silica because it helps with collagen. And I got that message while I was like walking through the store on my way back from the gym. And so I literally just put into ChatGPT, how do you feel about me taking a liquid silica? I took a picture of all the ones on the shelf and it said, you're based on these vitamins, these peptides, all of this. I think it's a good idea. You want this particular one. Here's why at this dosage. And it did that in 5 minutes. And I bought the silica and brought it home. So I didn't have to like use a bunch of my brain power to go figure that out.
Yeah, it's AI backed, right? You in that moment, in that decision. And that's what I love that term too, Rich, the AI backed humans. Not sure if I'd heard it before or not, but I underlined it like 3 times. And then you came back and referenced it again.
Yeah.
So it's both of us in a pretty cool way. How can our entrepreneurs learn more about you, connect with you, or learn more about Cashflowy.ai? Obviously,
Yeah.
Cashflowy.ai.
In terms of Cashflowy, go to cashflowy.ai. We actually have a really good newsletter. I know everybody doesn't want to get more emails, but we hear over and over, we have a very high open rate. We have a very high response rate. We put a lot into them. What we do is we take strategies that bigger brands are using, like Uber or something, and that are like have been wildly successful. And we break it down and say, as a small business, this is how you can like copy this strategy. And we make them super fun to read. And they're always less than 3 minutes. So in under 3 minutes, you get this really good actionable strategy. So if you go to cashflowy.ai, just scroll to the bottom, and at the bottom of the page in the footer, you can go to the newsletter, or you could just go to cashflowy.ai/news. That will take you to just subscribe to the newsletter. In terms of me, you can just find me, Heidi DeCoux. I'm guessing you'll put the spelling of my name below in the show notes. You can go to Instagram and LinkedIn are the 2 main places that I hang out online. So feel free to come find me there.
Okay, awesome. Heidi, great speaking with you today, and best of luck with Cashflowy.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me on.
Stay tuned as John and Rich unpack today's conversation.
AI-backed humans. And man, I love that phrase. I haven't heard it before. Maybe you have, but isn't the fear of people that it is AI replaced humans or humans replaced AI? Like it's that AI is going to replace them instead of AI-backed humans. And I think that's just a great way to look at it in terms of upping efficiency, and the way she had it where you outsource the mundane tasks. And that is one way to be an AI-backed human. I think there's a whole thesis that could probably be built around how to be an AI-backed human.
Yeah. There's no question that it'd be fun also to evaluate if there was a scorecard to how AI-backed is Rich Hoffman, how AI-backed is John St. Pierre. I'd say I'm probably like 5%, not much more than that. It's going to be interesting to see how that evolves. It's going to be interesting to see, imagine every year increasing by 5%, being more AI backed, and how you use the tools, how it helps you be more efficient, how it helps your business. And then think about the team you have in your business, people working in your company. If they could be more efficient, 25%, 30%, 40% more efficient in a task that they do, how much more profitable your business would be, number one. Number two, how much you could pay them more, which would be great for them as well, and their duration and working with your business, and how satisfied they are in their work. And I think I mentioned this to you before, like in a perfect world, which no world is perfect, I would love to have AI-backed humans in my business that I could pay twice as much, and our business could do twice as much revenue at twice as much profitability. It would be a win-win for everybody. And to me, that's a vision of AI-backed humans and companies that is really exciting for me. As opposed to, we're going to replace everybody and I'm going to make my company a one-person company. I'm going to fire everybody and AI just do it all for me. That's a different vision. Yet, I do believe what Heidi believes too, is that there will be some companies that are so self-served by AI that you don't need a whole team to run. So I really like that. The other thing she talked about, Rich, that I meant to double click on and I didn't, was this idea of we're moving away from the side hustle kind of movement, which was interesting because side hustles have been big. Uber drivers, different roles, freelancers, Fiverr, Upwork, all those kinds of things. But what she was trying to say in that moment is it's so easy to start your own company without having to go hire employees right now. And upstart costs are so low and AI tools are so prevalent. You can start your own company and not work for Uber, work for yourself. And with tools like Cashflowy, make it even easier and easier for you to get to market?
Yeah, I just did a ChatGPT search on what size business is QuickBooks good for. That's why I typed in. And it says solopreneurs and small businesses, 1 to 20 employees. Growing companies, 20 to 250 employees. Mid-sized companies, up to 250 employees, 20 to 25 million in revenue. It's interesting. That's really broad. Like, hey, if you're a solopreneur or you do 25 million in revenue and have 250 employees, we're the right solution for you, is essentially what QuickBooks is saying. Yeah, I have a hard time believing that. I think Cashflowy has a good niche where I use QuickBooks now, and I can't wait to talk to Heidi about maybe I want to move over to Cashflowy. There are so many things in QuickBooks I don't use and pay I think it's $35 a month for QuickBooks. I looked at her solution as much less expensive. And if it could tailor down the things that I need for my smaller business, and I'm not looking to be a $25 million business, yeah, I'd switch in a heartbeat. And I think there are a lot of people like me out there.
Yeah. And I mentioned fear and intimidation, right? In the intimidation side, tools like QuickBooks are like, there's so many buttons, so many features. It's kind of, I'm just going to do the bare minimum in this so I can actually reconcile.
And you think to work. Let me just do the bare minimum because I got to do work. I can't figure out this stuff out.
Exactly. So I love the idea of using tools. And I think she mentioned a really good point, which is even if you are not a solo entrepreneur, or even if you are, setting up projects in ChatGPT and forming on what's going on, asking it questions, you should be doing these things. You should be using those resources. I think that's one way to remove the intimidation point. Even yourself, you could go into ChatGPT and say, hey, how can I optimize books for a solo entrepreneur? It'll probably give you 10 steps you could go do today that would help you. So are you using these tools to improve? And I just love this idea, Rich, more and more. I'm seeing it more and more. And I think she handled it very eloquently, which is, yeah, you can go into ChatGPT and do this, but this product is so perfected for this buyer persona group of solopreneurs. It's not from 1 to 20, it's great. And from 20 to 100, it's great. And from 100 to 250, it's great. We're great for everybody. But it's very focused niche that she's going after. And as you get that focused niche, she'll be able to optimize that system for those individuals. So it's easier to use and easier to use and easier to use. So love her approach. I also love just the entrepreneur executive in her too. 3 to 4 startups. I see an opportunity. I'm going after, I'm starting it. I'm raising some capital. I'm going to build this company. Really enjoyed having that conversation with an entrepreneur that's very driven for success.
Hey, thanks for joining us, talking to Heidi, who has Cashflowy, and look forward to bringing you another episode next week.